Homeowners in America are worth 40 times more than renters. So the average homeowner in America today is worth over $400,000.
But this doesn't establish causation. That doesn't mean that buying a home made them rich, right?
It actually does. And I'm going to go through that here. So the average renter is worth $10,000, right? So why does buying a home build wealth? And how much wealth in the United States is now in home equity? Wall Street Journal just ran an article on this, came out 2 days ago. There's $34 trillion now in home equity in America. This number has gone up 90% since before COVID. The other money is in retirement accounts, which is 60, 70% in stocks. There's $45 trillion now in retirement accounts. So those two things alone equal $80 trillion, right? Like when you want to go like, where are the breadcrumbs? Where's wealth being created? It's right in front of us. Now, the problem that we have in the United States, but also look, we're here in London right now. The problem we have in so many cities is that real estate keeps going higher and higher and higher. And people's incomes are not keeping pace with the cost of buying a home. So when someone comes on a show like this and says, look, you don't have to buy a home. It costs more to have a house than rent. I watched one of the shows. I won't say who it was. It doesn't matter. They all say the same thing. Don't buy a house. You'll be trapped. You'll have to pay real estate taxes, and you'll have to pay insurance, and things break. They go through all these expenses. And it makes it sound like, oh yeah, if I rent, it'll be cheaper. No, who do you think pays these expenses when you rent? You do. The landlord passes the cost of these expenses on to the renter ultimately. Why do they do this? Because people who buy real estate buy it for an investment. They buy it for an investment. They're not subsidizing these costs. So it's a hard thing to hear, and especially when you're young. Like I have a son who's 22, he's in Chicago. He's gonna move to New York City. It'll be extremely hard for him to buy a place in New York when he starts working right away. Just will be. He probably won't for 2 or 3 years. A lot of young people, when they move to a major city, they can't afford to buy right away. When I came out of college, like you, I was in credit card debt. I had $12,000 in credit card debt. I remember opening up my bills and having the room spin and thinking, I'm never getting out of credit card debt. How am I going to buy a house? But I did. And in fact, I didn't buy a home when I was young by myself. I bought a home with a best friend. So how did I get my first house? First house we bought was $250,000. We put 10% down, and my best friend and I, Andrew, we split that down payment. So we each put $12,500 down. This is how we scraped it together. The house was a complete fixer-upper, and we didn't have enough money to make the mortgage payments, so we rented out bedrooms. And we had friends rent bedrooms, and that helped us cover our mortgage. We scraped it together, and that's what a lot of people do when you're young. But if you don't get in the game of homeownership, and you rent in your 20s and you rent in your 30s, you're going to turn around in your 40s and having not been built any net worth. When I wrote The Automatic Millionaire 20 years ago, 2 things have happened since then. The stock market has gone up in 20 years, 600%. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you had $100,000, just that has gone to $600,000. If you bought a house, the house has gone up 400%. So when you read this book with all these, there's a whole chapter of updated success stories. There are a lot of ordinary people that started saving $5, $10, $15, $20 a day, bought a starter house, and today they're millionaires.
So am I not better off renting and investing in the stock market versus buying a house? Because obviously when I buy a house, I'm paying a premium on the house so that I can get a mortgage.
I want to bust this myth, because what happens is people come on and they go, look, I can tell you right now, the stock market over the last 20 years has averaged over 10% annually. People go, the returns are better in the stock market than in real estate. Yeah, but that's not apples to apple comparison. Why? When you buy a piece of real estate, when you buy a home, people don't typically pay cash for their first house. they put down 20% and they borrow the other 80%.